Let's face it, it's no fun to be held accountable. Nobody likes being grilled over every aspect of their life. It's not a lot of fun, especially when the questions come from not just friends or family, but hostile reporters. What do you do? Now, I've worked with 1,000 at least politicians, CEOs, who are in the spotlight who face negative questions, tough questions from pesky reporters. Quite often, the first impulse is to just say, no interview, no press conference. In fact, we're seeing that right now with Donald Trump. He has gone really longer than anyone in the modern era of being elected and not holding a press conference. He announced he was going to have a press conference this week to discuss his conflicts of interest, and yet now he's postponed it to, I don't know, I think sometime in 2025, he claims next year. Why is he doing that? Well, the biggest reason people want to avoid press conferences is they don't want to take questions because they're afraid that the news coverage from that is going to be negative. And here's the flaw with that thinking. If you don't do news conferences, you give even more space in stories for reporters to write nasty things about you. Now, in the case of Donald Trump, you can argue that has worked in his favor, having so many so-called mainstream reporters attacking him all the time throughout the campaign boosted his credibility. But at some point, he does have to worry about how mainstream Republican senators, Mitch McConnell, view him, or he's not going to be able to get any of his agenda passed through the Senate. And let's not forget, it only takes 3 Republican senators to cross over and vote with the Democrats, and essentially all of Donald Trump's initiatives are doomed and dead in the water. So at some point he is going to have to communicate to the rest of the world beyond his base of supporters. So that begs the question, should he hold press conferences? It would certainly make him seem normalized to those who don't view that he currently is. Let's step back for a minute. When my clients tell me they don't want to do press conferences or don't want to do interviews, I always dig a little, I scratch a little, and what it really turns out to is they just are afraid they'll say something stupid. Whoa, think of it. Dropped my phone. The phone fell off the tripod. I'm doing a tripod, so I'm going to hold it for you now. So they're afraid that they'll say something stupid, not necessarily drop the camera or do something stupid, but say something stupid in an interview. So not doing the interview is an attempt to control the outcome. I'm all in favor of control, but I don't have any evidence that simply not doing interviews and not doing press conferences is particularly effective. It's a little too ham-fisted. It's a little too overtly manipulative. What I believe most politicians get wrong, and where I train politicians, is you have to have a good message and you have to have great quotes already prepared in your own mind, ready to deliver before the interview starts. Now let's look, for example, at Donald Trump. And folks, this is not going to be the Donald Trump channel, but when you look at the statements he's made that have gotten out to the media that have caused the most controversy, Mexicans are rapists, I want to grab their, you know what. It was never because of questions by a reporter at a press conference. It's always been something Trump either said at a speech, or said an offhand comment, or said in a tweet. So he actually has a pretty good track record of not saying things that really get him into that much trouble, relatively, when faced with reporters. And there's just something about a democracy that expects leaders to face scrutiny from representatives of the public in the form of the news media. And the question I ask to all my clients is, if you could write the first paragraph of the story any way you want, what would it be? And if you can come up with some positive message, you can now figure out what you want to focus on in the interview to get that message into the final story. I'm a big believer there's no such thing as tough questions, mean questions, or nasty questions. There is such a thing as stupid answers. What gets politicians and CEOs into trouble are the stupid answers. And you can completely control that by what comes out of your own mouth. If you want to learn more about this, go to my website, mediatrainingworldwide.com, and click on the online courses to learn more about the online media training courses, or give us a call to talk about the in-person courses. Thanks.